Hello, I'm Guy Cihi. I play James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2. And I'm here tonight with Dave Schaufele, who plays Eddie Dombrowski. Dave is going to ask questions that Martin has organized for the Silent Hill HD collection profile page, I guess, on Facebook. So, Dave, say hi, man.
Hi, everybody.
So here we go. We've got, I don't know, about 10 or 12 questions from fans, and I'll do my best to answer them. Dave's going to ask away. So, Dave, what do you got?
Jane Birch says, how did the opportunity come up to be part of the project?
How did the opportunity come up? All right, well, as, uh, as I've written before in interviews, what happened was my daughter, who was 10 at the time, uh, read about a PlayStation game audition on a poster at her school. She was going to international school in Japan, and she asked me to take her to the audition, and I said I would. So I took her to the audition, and while I was sitting in the lobby, kind of in the waiting area when she went into the audition room, uh, I was kind of like, hey, what's going on here? This is interesting. Like, here's a script on the side table. So I picked it up and started looking at it. And then a guy came out and he had just tried out for the part of James. So I said, well, what's this like? And he said, like this. And you put on these sensors and then you record the lines. And it's a good gig. It pays really well. I thought, well, as long as I'm here, um, maybe I'll ask if I can try out for the job. Be fun to perform again. I'd done acting before in community theater and in college, and I really, I'm a ham, so I thought, oh, this will be fun. I'll give it a go. If they'll let me, right? So this guy was walking by a little later. My daughter still hadn't come back. And I said, excuse me, is it possible for me to try out for the part? And he's like, well, do you have any acting experience? I said, well, I acted in college and community theater, but I'm here with my daughter today. She's trying out for the part of for the game. And he said, okay, well, let me check. And he disappeared and came back about 10 minutes later, and he said, well, seems like they haven't cast the part yet, so yeah, you can try. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that was the beginning, and I auditioned. They asked me to mime certain things. They asked me to emote. They asked me to react to the news that my wife had died, and it was a good interview. It was Team Silent, who most of you know were the panel of judges. There were four of them, and I didn't know them at the time. They were just four Japanese guys smoking cigarettes and drinking canned coffee, as far as I could tell. So, but they fit the part of the creative types, and I did my performance, and that was that. I took my daughter and we left. So that's how it happened. And I later learned, Dave, that that's pretty much your story too, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty much the same thing. Perhaps I came after you, so they said, oh, hey, would you mind auditioning?
you brought your daughter for the audition
Right.
for Laura,
Yeah.
and then they asked you to audition for Eddie.
Right.
Well, I mean, you're perfect for that part. You made that part, man. I see. I mean, my role, I don't get to do very much except stand around and look confused and say a few lines. I get one good monologue at the beginning, but you guys, you and Monica, man, you guys, and Angela, you got some, uh, Donna, right? You got the greatest, really rich lines. I'm jealous.
Okay, next question from Andre Perez. What was the work environment like? Were the producers and directors very demanding?
Hmm. No, well, it was a little confused at the beginning, I think. I don't think they really had a formula down for it yet. The Team Silent guys were pretty open minded and definitely creative, and they had chosen us because they felt we were like the characters that they had imagined. Now, anyone who knows this game well knows that it's full of all kinds of arcane historical references to other horror films and books and historical events. And man, so their heads were full of all kinds of details, right? And then here are these foreign actors who they're trying to work with and get something from. I have a feeling if they had known how big the game was going to be, they'd have spent more time on the finer points. But the work environment was good. I really enjoyed my time there. How about you, Dave? Was it good?
Yeah, it was interesting. The motion capture was sort of state of the art at the time.
Oh, definitely. The motion capture was really sweet because we were told that this was the first time they'd done multiple characters recording at the same time, and that really helped in the cutscenes where there's dialogue between the two characters, like with Angela or with Monica or between Dave and I, because you don't get the same feeling recording by yourself as when you're playing off another person. And the body language, what? It's some researchers have suggested that 70% of human communication is body language. So if you're doing it by yourself, you're missing the chemistry that comes from being on stage together. So we definitely had a creative and intense environment. The directors, they knew what they wanted. They let us argue or challenge, well, me, and some of the lines that I wasn't comfortable saying. But ultimately, if they really wanted it, they got it. Like the dog ending was one that they definitely wanted. I was against doing that, as many of you know. And I thought the line um, about eating pizza and monsters was a little silly at the time, but turns out it's a fan favorite, so that shows you what I know.
Actually, that leads into the next question from Alex Ortiz. Can you describe the process of motion capture and was it hard to perform?
uh, I wouldn't say it was really hard to perform. I mean, it's limited what you can do. There's two types. There's optical and there's magnetic. The optical only works for one character at a time, or if there's a great space between the characters, because they basically you wear like a spandex type suit, and they with little Velcro tabs at all these key points on your body, and then they stick a ping pong ball on it, right? And the room is full of like one of those spy movies or an adventure movie like Mission Impossible, where they have all these laser lights that you can't even see. You put on the glasses, you can see them, but you can't see them. These laser lights create a matrix in this room, and they sense the balls, and then they turn on the camera, a special camera, and it sees the balls as they move around. That's called the optical capture. The other one is magnetic. That's a little more tricky. They have this big wire harness that has about 50, 60 wires all bundled together, and it comes up behind you, and it's like a tail, and then each little wire goes to a different point on the spandex suit where there's a little magnetic emitter, and you're in a room that has around the perimeter magnetic sensors. So you're emitting a charge, and the sensors are finding it, and each point has an encoded charge at maybe at a specific frequency, I guess. So that's what they had to use when there were two characters on the stage in close quarters, like Dave and I, or Monica and I, the magnetic sensors. And you had to have a minder behind you with holding your tail as you walked around. You don't see them because they're invisible to the computer rendering process. But that's the mag process, or magnetic, the mocap process. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was extremely difficult. The studio was air conditioned, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay, next question from Shane Grimes. Before making the voice recording, did you already know the unexpected turns that the story would take? And what was your impression when you saw Pyramid Head for the first time?
Ah, ooh. Well, no and nothing. So they did not explain the story to me. They gave me only the roughest outline of the story. I think they knew that James was lost in a self-induced state of amnesia, or psychosomatic amnesia. I'm not sure what to call it. But he's pretty much a confused guy, and if they had told me the ending or the possible endings, I don't think I'm sure it would have affected my performance. So they were pretty secretive about it. They gave me the general idea, and that didn't allow me to come to any conclusions early on, and that I believe shows in the performance. The Pyramid Head, I never saw Pyramid Head until the game was released in trailers, or I had no idea what he looked like. They just said there's this monster, so that's all I knew.
Okay, Pablo Avlith says, which scene was the hardest to perform and why?
The the hardest scene to perform in the mocap was it's a very short part of a cut scene where James is sitting by Mary's bedside in one of the endings and confessing to her, and she's confessing to him their sadness over how things turned out. And you don't really see it the way it was recorded, or for me it was recorded in a sequence and then it was edited later in the game. But I'll tell you that after she is dead, James picks up her lifeless body from the bed and carries her in front of him like this out of the room. So that was a very difficult scene for me to do, because picking up a dead body, and Monica was acting the part perfectly, right, is not easy. Try it sometime if you don't believe me, right? It's okay with a child, but Monica's a beautiful woman, and she wasn't standing, she was laying down when I tried to pick her up. So you're already bent down pretty low. And I struggled with it. I'm not particularly into weightlifting or that type of thing, right? But I also, I shouldn't have had that much trouble. It really was bothering me when we did take after take, and the directors are like, "Well, you must go faster." And I'm like, I'm doing the best I can, man. Why don't you try it? No, I didn't say that, but and finally, I remembered. I woke up in the middle of the night. Eureka! I remembered this class we took at college acting class, right? How to pick up a dead body. And it's like, oh my God, why didn't I remember this before? And the trick is you approach the dead body and you take the arm that's closest to you, and you kind of just grab it without really making a big deal out of it and put it over your neck. Then you reach under and grab the body under the knees and behind the back. Well, what the audience doesn't know is that the dead body is like latched onto your neck now, like, because you've got this elbow around your neck, and you just basically lift the body up with your back, not your arms, and that's the trick. And it worked great. Boom, we had that take done in a minute, right? First time after I remembered the dead body trick.
Okay.
Was that the question? Did I get it all?
Yeah,
Which was the hardest scene?
Hardest to perform. Yeah.
All right, that was it.
Sasha Stockel says, what has been the best or most memorable moment during your participation in Silent Hill 2?
Best or most memorable? Well, the one that stands out for me is after, again, recording a bedside scene with Mary, between Mary and James. It's one where I confess that all the confusion that I have about the fact that I killed her, and honestly speaking, if I went back in time, that same result would happen. And I just have to live with this. And she's forgiving me for what happened, knowing her role in that event, in that outcome, and accepting it. And we were both in tears in recording the scene. And you don't see that in the mocap, of course, and you may not even hear it in the voice, or you may. But right after the scene was recorded, the studio was silent. Everyone was silent. The cameraman, the mocap people, the directors, and Monica. And Monica said, she kind of whispered to me, "You're good." And that's the part that I remember. It's getting the respect of a really talented actress for my work, and I appreciated that. I still do. Thank you, Monica.
Okay, Brian Hansen says, which ending do you like the most and why?
Oh, that's easy. I like the leave ending because that's the one that works for me. I mean, if James was interested in suicide, he wouldn't have gone to Silent Hill to commit suicide, I don't believe. I know there's fans have a lot more invested in thinking about the game, but I got to be honest with you. Most of you were 10 to 15 years old when you played it the first time, right? And I was already married and divorced once and had like 4 children. So I don't believe he would have done what he had done and been suicidal as a result of it. And I also don't believe anyone was looking for him. You have a woman who's months away from dying, and she suddenly dies, and that's it. No one's going to ask why she died a little earlier than she might have. It's not like an open murder case that someone's looking for the criminal in. So there's no pressure. He's not running from anyone. He really went back to face his own demons, but I never had the feeling that suicide was the option. And then with Laura in the story and Mary wanting Laura to be taken care of, it was pretty clear to me leave ending is the natural ending. But again, that's what makes Silent Hill 2 so great, is that fans have choices they make and the outcome is different based on how they play it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that leads into the next question by Choi Yoon. Is James a victim of his inner anger due to his wife's illness, or really a psychotic person? I'm interested in your opinion because both the Leave ending and the Maria ending give us different points of view.
Well, James is an ordinary guy like any of us in very, very extreme circumstances. You need to remember a couple of very brief portions of the game and the performances where Mary is screaming at him, and you need to just like make a tape loop of that and play it 12 hours a day from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. And you might begin to feel the stress of living with a person who's attacking you constantly. And then you might be in the frame of mind to answer that question yourself. Is he psychotic, or is he reacting to an environment and a set of circumstances? I believe he reacted to the environment and the circumstances. You may or may not like what he did, but that's what he did. I mean, it's not me. I don't know what I would have done, but I do know that I would have left with Laura if I had been in that same situation. There's some other things I would have done differently, but hey. Okay. Did I get that one?
Yeah, I think so. Joseph Hamilton says, what makes you think Silent Hill 2 is unique compared to other horror titles from the series such as Resident Evil, Fatal Frame, or even other titles within the Silent Hill franchise?
The quality of the writing and the story, the depth of the detail, and uh, the presence of the actors, and I mean physical presence in the recording of the cutscenes, that they were together when they recorded it. We This was not like other games. Dave, you've done voice recording for other games. I mean, you go into a sound booth and you record the lines for many of them, right?
Yeah, it's already done.
Yeah. So the game's already finished, and you're just doing the reading lines from a script. Is this thing? We acted out these lines not like once, like 8 or 9 times until we perfected the scene together on the stage, and then after that was recorded, we went into a sound booth and recorded the lines. So it was real easy to slip right back into that moment and recall the correct or the optimal delivery, the one the directors loved, the one the actors loved, right? So that makes it special, that realness. Well, some people are used to these kind of big Hollywood style voices they throw on into the sound booth, and sure, they're magical, and I appreciate the quality of them too. They sound like TV commercial voices. But these characters, Monica and myself, Donna and Dave, in Silent Hill 2, they weren't chosen because they're like TV characters or TV commercial voices. They were chosen because they're real people who fit those characters in the director's eyes. And man, they weren't like casual about it. Don't listen to what anybody says. These guys, they made Silent Hill 2. They wrote that. They created that whole thing. They're detail maniacs. So it was no accident. Other games, I just don't think they got the same level of attention to the story. There's maybe more effort into the action and the gameplay and the technical expertise of the fighting moves and so forth. But that distinguishes Silent Hill 2. It really is a movie you play, not a horror movie, a psychological horror movie that you play, not a game. So.
Okay, Richard Alvarado says, "What is your opinion of the new voice acting in Silent Hill 2?"
Well, like I said, they're really nice voices. These guys are pros, so they've done a lot of different work, and first time I heard their voices, I was, whoa, these guys are really good. What a beautiful voice Troy Baker has, huh? Mm. But it's pretty clear if you listen to it several times, they didn't actually perform these scenes together. They just and they had the original to work from and listen to, and then they tried to improve on that with their own thinking. But if they had actually performed the scenes and immersed themselves in the part with Team Silent directing them, I'm sure they would have done a better job. They're competent professionals, but I think the originals are better, even if it wasn't me, because they're like real people. So that's I mean, I would say time-wise, I'm guessing they spent about 1/100th the time we spent rehearsing, preparing, filming, mocapping, and then studio recording those parts. They probably went into the studio and then within a day or 2 days recorded all their lines.
Maybe even just a few hours.
Maybe even a few hours. So how can you possibly expect the same level? I mean, maybe their voices are great, but net we got real characters. So out of the original performance. So I respect them, but that's I'm also how can I say it, biased in favor of the originals.
And oftentimes pros like that, they may have even had a job right before or a job right after, so their mind is not completely focused on just that project.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Margaret Larkin says, "Do you think Silent Hill series should have ended at Silent Hill 3 as was Team Silent's intent?"
Well, I don't know if that was Team Silent's intent, but I know that they were tired of working at Konami. If you've ever seen the making of video, which appeared in one of the European releases of Silent Hill 2, you see the offices at Konami. I mean, it looks like an accounting office. So, a little bit of history. Konami went bankrupt many years ago and was taken over by the banks that had lent it money. And they started sticking their executives in there to run it. So, calling it an accounting office is not inappropriate. It's pretty cubular. So I'm not surprised those guys wanted to leave. They did what they could do there and they moved on. So whether they wanted it to continue or not is another question. Let's just say, do I think it should have stopped? I don't think it should have stopped. No, it's a great franchise. Once you get a winner, you in branding something, you definitely want to continue with it. But they shouldn't have outsourced it to people who didn't understand. At least maybe they could have kept the Team Silent guys in as consultants to the concept of the sequels. That would have been smart. Yeah. So I can't say they should have ended it. I think they made a wise business decision to continue the series under the Silent Hill 2 heading. Some games are well liked by people, and some are despised. So it wasn't a great track record. So yeah, mixed on that one.
Okay.
Next.
Jonathan Perea says, if they asked you to play James in a live action film, would you?
Ooh. It'd have to be like an indie film, right? So I think they could probably do better than me casting it. I don't know if I'm up for that, but if they asked me, I would do it. I said it was a ham, so I'd definitely. Hey, would you play Eddie in the movie?
Sure, yeah.
Why not?
Hollywood, here we come.
We're going back. Yeah.
Okay. Douglas Hefner says, are you interested to put your voice in another game? And how has getting to know your fans changed your life and your views of the game, if at all?
Oh, sure. I'd do another game in a minute if my schedule allowed. It was fun. I'm not sure my schedule would allow it, but it'd be fun. And it was good paying work, so it was fun. How has it changed my life? Ooh, being involved in the game allowed me to, on a delayed basis, kind of fulfill that little dream that any performer has of being involved in a hit production and becoming part of the storyline of a genre. Okay, so now Silent Hill 2 is out there. It can't be undone. It's always going to be a game that the old timers remember, even as we move into the future. It's kind of like being part of Hitchcock's Psycho, right? Yeah, I was there. I was on the set for that work, right? So you can argue if it was the greatest psychological horror thriller in history or not, but it can't be denied. It's got its place in the history of events, right? PlayStation 2 and Silent Hill 2, both of those elements have their place, and they won't be dislodged from the genre and the world of console gaming. I'm really thrilled that I was a part of it. I'm thrilled. I'm honored to have been a part of it. I wouldn't even know if it weren't for the fans. So yeah, getting to connect with the fans has definitely changed my life, and I've done a lot of different things in my life, and some of them, when I did them, I thought, yeah, this is different now. I'm a different person now. Like summiting a very high mountain peak, or something like the birth of my first son, my first child, and I'm not sure this game is up there with the birth of my first child, but it's pretty high up in the list of things that define my vision of who my own personal self image, and I wouldn't know about it if there weren't fans. I wouldn't know that Silent Hill 2 was popular, right? There. Silent Hill 2. And there it is. Silent Hill 2. So it's because of you, the fans, that I feel like I've accomplished something as a performer. May not be very much, but I'm happy with it. I hope you're happy with it. How do you feel, Dave? You're a pro, man. You're the one who
Stay
does.
silent, fans. Stay silent.
Stay silent. Yeah.
We'll see you again.
Bye bye.